underway. Booth has the physical characteristics, right? The height and the speed and the reach, but Dalton has the experience, Damon.
Definitely. So Jack Dalton's been in the Oval before. Cam's cross-trained in MMA since retiring from Olympic Taekwondo, but he's never fought in this rule set. So if he can catch him, he'll have a chance. But Jack's been here before, so it's going to be very interesting to see how this fight plays out.
Massive right hand from Jack Dalton. Cam Booth pushed to the oval side there, Raheem.
You saw Cameron try to establish that distance right from the beginning with his kicks, and then Jack closed the distance and land those punches that took this fight to the mat. I think exactly the way this fight was set up is what we're going to watch unfold.
Jack Dalton easily taking down the taller competitor here and mounting him. Feels like Cam Booth is a little bit unadjusted to taking these shots, Damon.
Yeah, a bit reactive. He tried a back kick then, and again, Jack's in control. Cam needs to catch him, but he's in control, he's comfortable. Cameron's going back with his chin quite high. But Cameron has a kick his chance, but he's not got the space to let his legs go as you would in Taekwondo.
45 seconds left in this one, Raheem. Cam Booth needs to do something.
Well, it's worth noting that when they went to the ground, Jack took advantage of more than the 3 punches allotted and was warned by the referee. Here we see him again wanting to get Cameron on his back and land those punches to an immovable Cameron Booth. Jack
Dalton almost took Cam Booth from Liverpool to Newcastle with that takedown attempt, Damon.
Yeah, you picked him up, didn't he? Ran in and dunked him down. Good fights so far. Again, Jack Dalton punching, very good puncher. Cam's tried a few back kicks that have not worked. We got rocked there. He said, that's it, his chin's high, his guard's down. Dangerous times for Cameron Booth.
Cam Booth desperately trying to clinch up and hang on. Seemed like the equilibrium was kind of rocked out of his dome there, Raheem.
Well, one of those punches did land behind the head of Cameron. Again, I'm not entirely clear on what the rules on that is. It was clearly accidental. Cameron kind of leaned into the punch and caught a hook behind the head, but I think that's where the equilibrium went.
Yeah, essentially, Cam's been minus 1 point. The reason is, in Total Kombat, as we saw, head referee JC Cashman, we're not allowed to hold. So you can't underhook, you can't get them by the neck, and you can't negate the action. And that's why this is so special, because it forces constant combat and striking. And Cam, because he's not so... he's tying him up and holding him, because that's the danger zone, but he's getting penalized by the referee.
Jack Dalton with a lot of success in that first frame here. Some handiwork from him. Those massive right hands like hammers, nailing Cam Booth time and time again. But I will say, Raheem, in the final 20 seconds, a lot of passivity on both sides.
Well, it's the adjustments. Nothing in combat sports is more consistent or necessary than being able to make adjustments to what your opponent is doing. If it's not going your way, you've got to find a way to turn the momentum in your action in your direction. And that is what both fighters are trying to do. They're both trying to impose their will on the other.
Round number 2 underway here between the light heavyweights. Cam Booth, chin very straight up in the air, does take Jack Dalton down in the early moments here.
And that there's an adjustment. That's a reversal of fortune. It's now Cameron taking Jack to the ground, and he will need to find a way to strike while they're down.
I believe JC Cashman might have taken a point there, Damon.
Whoa! Oh! Great attempt from Jack, so he's out kicking the Olympic Taekwondo fighter.
I wondered you'd get some points there for novelty. That was a great attempt, even if it didn't land.
I like the style points. I feel like that should be a category. Final 80 seconds of this second round. Jack Dalton circling, trying to reset and plant here. Booth spins, doesn't connect.
When you have two competing styles, it does make you want to get creative. In fact, it forces you to get creative when you make these adjustments. I really like this style matchup. It's not quite as much action as we get from a lot of fights, but you are seeing them really joust for position.
Cam Booth throwing that overhand all the way from his hip, Damon, bringing that from the South Pole onto Cam Booth.
Definitely, but the thing is, Cam's, Olympic Taekwondo don't punch, so for your first time fighting with punches to the face, this is a big stage, to be fair. But Cam's hanging in there, but Jack's in control, he's loose, he's in the driving seat, scoring very, very powerful shots.
Big disparity in the arm strikes. Dalton leading the charge there on the stats board. Final 30 seconds again. The right hand from Jack Dalton clips him. Booth able to reverse positions in that takedown, but it feels like he is almost in a cold plunge right here, just shocked to the bone.
Jack leaning in with not as much head movement as I would think would be necessary for a good defense, and taking a lot of risk with the kicker. I'm surprised that
Lovely twist kick to the chin there, but Jack just ate that. That's the first time Cam scored an efficient kick.
Right on cue. I was surprised that a kick hadn't come to the head before then, and that's exactly what Jack had opened himself up to.
Final moments here in the second frame. We head to a third. Now, Raheem, like you were just talking about, excellent front kick up the middle. Here's a couple looks at the replays. Style from Jack Dalton, but I feel like Cameron Booth really found himself in this second round, Damon.
Definitely, Jack's comfortably in the lead. I mean, there's minus points, there's heavy shots. Cam's going back with his chin in the air, but at least Cam, he scored a head kick. Will that give him a little bit more confidence to make it more competitive? But one thing for Cam, he's taking the shots and he's definitely got a chin on him.
I think Cameron had to settle in. There's a little bit of nervous energy when you know you've only got 2 minutes, the clock is running, and if it's not going your way, you get a little desperate to try to impose your will. And Cameron took a step back, calmed himself down, and tried to take control of the fight. And I think that's what swung it more in his direction in the second round than we experienced in the first.
And there might be something to be said for Cam Booth after 2 rounds of taking Jack Dalton's hardest strikes, thinking to himself, you know what, maybe I can take these and dish them back. Round number 3 underway. Stepping side kick from Jack Dalton. Booth trying to answer. Again, clinch here.
In an exchange of kicks, it really communicates that Cameron is starting to get the fight his way, or at least fight on his terms.
Jack Dalton, massive spinning wheel kick from him, doesn't connect. Cam Booth is going to see those coming from a mile away.
Definitely, but the interesting thing with Cam is he's trying to out-punch a puncher. For me, it's the bad tactic. But what Cam's doing is he's reactive. He's not on the front foot. He's quite passive. So he's not in control. He's not pushing him back. He's not being creative. Maybe the occasion is getting to him. That's an okay kick. That's to the back. That's a shot, and that hurts him.
Big right hands over the top there. Jack Dalton getting real frustrated with this clinching, but he keeps collapsing in on every sequence, Raheem.
And what's surprising to me is that once Cameron got this fight on his terms and it was a kicking match, when Jack missed, he didn't make him pay. When you miss, you gotta make him pay. And this is the difference between winning a round and losing a round, or still trying to find a way to make an adjustment to get the advantage.
Big cartwheel kick there from Dalton, doesn't connect, but again, he's trying new things, bringing some rolling thunder to Liverpool.
Exactly, and in Total Kombat, the more risk, the more reward. This is a good fight so far, very good fight, and Jack is really expressing himself. He's comfortable in there. This is home for him.
Something creative like that. Either one of those kicks had landed, you don't see it coming, and that closes the show. That's a knockout for sure.
Big shots right there land with the left hand from Dalton. Final 20 seconds, another look at the arm strikes here. Huge, wide gap between them. Dalton 39 to Booth's 6.
In these last 13 seconds, one of these guys really could still steal this round.
Come in. Fifth final warning. Hold it. Got disqualified.
A lot of warnings being issued to Cam Booth. A learning experience for sure. Again, first time he's in this rule set, Damon. Obvious it's going to be a little bit awkward for him.
Definitely. It's again, it's disqualification. And again, it was a competitive fight, but the rule set that we designed at Total Kombat is you can't negate the action. We want people to rock, we want people to roll, but when you're in trouble, the phrase, you can't win for the cuddle. And again, if someone's training with MMA, they're used to tying up, holding the neck and holding on, but we are not allowed to do that here.
I do believe that the official decision here is going to be a disqualification. I'm hearing that from the truck. Raheem, pretty surprised that they've DQ'd Cam Booth for the excessive holding.
Okay, well that makes more sense to me, because what I was going to say was that he really lost his opportunity to close the third round because there was 15 seconds left, and when he levied that penalty, he lost the last 15 seconds. There wasn't a clock stoppage, but I guess if he's getting DQ'd, then the clock is now a moot point, and the fight was over anyway.
A learning lesson for Cameron Booth that here in Total Kombat, clinching and erasing the momentum of fights is a one-way ticket to the losers column, Damon.
Definitely, and the rule set we've created, because often in certain styles, MMA, certain other styles, the action can be negated in a lot of ground games, so we don't allow wrestling, we don't allow people to hold. And again, we've got so many more fights tonight, but it promotes action and it promotes non-stop combat.
Let's take it now to Gurge.
Ladies and gentlemen, the decision has been made. Your winner by disqualification is on the red side of the oval, the one and only Jack Dalton!
Jack Dalton, your winner by disqualification, but that does not reflect the excellence at which he was operating out within this fight.